Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Shredding Skeptic. Today we are going to be blasting through Oulton Park and we're going to be getting a little bit of a history lesson from the Scottish Skeptic. So let's get right into it, shall we?
Hi, hello. Oulton Park is certainly one of my favourite racetracks and I've had a lot of history at this park dating back over 1,000 years.
I see. Okay, well why don't you tell us how you first came about finding this track?
Aye, right. Well, several centuries ago when I was foraging in the Delamere forest for haggis, I found myself a group of Romans. They didn't seem too pleased with what they had found and described it as a waste. So as you do, we massacred a lot of them and decided that we should grant the land to Robert the Grosvenor.
I see. Do you have anything that's perhaps a little bit more recent?
I remember discussing strategy with the great General Patton before the Normandy invasions.
Right, because this was one of the loading areas for the Normandy invasions, but interestingly enough, this racetrack was built purely as a racetrack, and in fact not a former airstrip, because as you can see, this would not be an ideal place to land planes.
Aye, the only other exception I can think of is Blandford, the most bland track I can think of.
So today, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of different cars. First one up is this Caterham, and later we're going to be taking a look at the BAC Mono.
Aye, and I see you've got your telemetry up on this top screen there so the viewers can follow along with what you're actually doing behind the wheel.
Alright, well let's dive into this lap. Why don't you walk us through the corners, Scotty?
Right, first up is Old Hall Corner, down to 3 and off the throttle. Back on as soon as you can. Now as you proceed down the avenue, you want to take it easy over the corner at Denton's because you're going to lose some altitude, and that means you're going to lose some steering, so keep it straight. Stick the apex as tight as you can, and this time we're no going down Cascades, we're going straight into Foster's, which by the way is my favourite brew. After Foster's it's right on to Knickerbrook. Back in the day, me and Blaster Bates were blowing up tree stumps and we found some knickers in the brook, and that's how it got its name.
Is that so?
You can look it up on Wikipedia. Next up is Clay Hill. You want to try to stay in the middle of the road due to the change in altitude. And you want to come around here quick and hard on the brakes before you have to steer, and down to 3. Past Water Tower and straight into Druid's Corner. You're right straight on the Warwick Bridge. You want to try to brake as late as possible before getting down to 2 for Lodge Corner. Oh, sloppy, too early.
Yeah, I kind of miscalculated that one a little bit.
Right, finally on to Deer Leap. Try to keep your wheels on the ground before you cross the finish line. Nicely done.
Thanks. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what makes this particular track so special to you?
Well, the past 6 decades have proven to be very interesting in the track's evolution. Its ups and downs and its rather unique nature have brought drivers from Formula 1, 2 and 3 back time and time again, and unfortunately has proven fatal for one of my good friends. Paul Hawkins was killed when he lost control of his car at Island Bend, which is a track corner we're not actually seeing today because it's down the other way if you turn left right there. But again, this track is very special to me and I've come back time and time again over the decades and tried to improve my lap times. The narrow road also makes for a bit of a challenge if you're not used to it, but mostly people stay in a straight line and there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities, so if you're able to maintain pole, you're likely to win the race. The Caterham you've chosen for today's race does possess quite a lot of poise when you're pointing it in the right direction, but it's not very fast compared to some of the sports cars today. So let's take a quick look ahead to the next video so we can see what one of those looks like.
Sure, next up we got the BAC Mono, so we're going to see how many seconds per lap that can shave off. It looks like the best I was able to do with the Caterham was about 1:19.71, so let's see how the BAC Mono clocks in.
Right, aggressive start off the line. I try to burn a little bit of fuel so you weigh less when you're moving. Try to pop that clutch a little bit faster than your opponents and you'll have a slight advantage off the line. That's right, straight between them. Nicely missed. Now maybe give these two a little bit of a nudge to get them at your line. Nicely done.
Yeah, I'm actually not too proud of that. I don't think that's really the way you're supposed to race.
Aye, but like you've said before, these are AI drivers and they're no gonna come for you in the parking lot, right?
I know, but all I'm saying is...
just shut it, you wee bastard. This is about your freedom.
No, not this again. Alright, listen. Part of becoming a better driver for me is not just about posting better lap times, it's also about not making collisions, with other drivers.
Aye, well for that you're gonna have to work on your racing strategy. Quite often it's best to stay in second or third place and wait for your turn toward the end of the race, so the driver in front of you is burning through his tyres and his gas, pushing all the air out of the way for you. Plus he's setting his own lines and you can check his strategy in the meantime. I see you are doing a better job of forcing them to the outside by defending your inside line. You're able to get back on the power faster and many of them are making mistakes and going wide.
Yeah, those ones I don't feel as bad about. If they choose to be a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, they're going to pay the same price as everybody else. It turns out that the recent patch by Project Cars has also caused the AI driver tires to behave similar to your own in the rain. Now, I didn't realize why I was getting my ass handed to me so badly in the rain before, but it turns out that the AI tires were behaving as if it were dry, so I'm hoping that's going to level the playing field a little bit for me in the future, and I can tackle a few more races, and hopefully a couple of them at night. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to be sticking to the day races, because they do seem to be enough of a handful as it is. Especially this BAC Mono, it's exceptionally light, and the open wheel design does lend itself to some very fast response times, but again, if you give it too much, this thing is unforgiving.
Right, well what we got coming up next then?
Well, we did a quick revisit to Subnautica and Running with Rifles. If you guys haven't checked out those videos, they are in the channel box there. And I think later I'm going to pick up that expansion pack and do a quick review of all the different cars that come with that. So I think there are 5 cars with that, so perhaps we'll do maybe 5 laps of a different track. So if you guys have any suggestions as to what track you'd like to review next, just put those in the comments below.
Aye, and didn't forget to like and subscribe the video if you want to hear more from me, the Scottish Skeptic.
Indeed, if you are interested in hearing more of Scotty's rather interesting anecdotal history lessons, you can certainly like and subscribe for that. We also may be introducing a new character I've been in talks with from out east as well.
Who are you talking about?
I don't think you know him. He's
What you gone and got another one for? What's wrong with me?
Nothing at all. I just thought it might be interesting to have an additional perspective in the group.
What are you on about? I'm an additional perspective, you bastard.
I know. I just thought it might be a good idea to maybe introduce somebody who complements your contributions.
Well, I'm not keen on it. It's an imposition on my freedom.
Fine, well, you know what, we'll play it by ear and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning into this episode of The Shredding Skeptic. I certainly hope to see you in the comments and in our next video. Thanks again.